To blanch my asparagus, my baby bok choy. I'm adding here the rest of the Brussels sprouts. And I'm blanching everything very well for a couple of minutes. At the same time, here I have a beef stock, reducing a little bit, very flavorful beef stock. And what I will add in here, it's some marrow bones were kept overnight in ice water. This one wonders as the whole blood and everything comes out. And I will take these marrow bones here and I will simmer this around for 25 minutes. It's cooked. Remove the ice water. Same with my vegetable. Put everything nicely done. That's everything my blanched vegetable. Carrots, Brussels sprouts, fennel. What I do with the potato, I will cook my potato with the marrow here. We're simmering. This way you have a nice flavoring for the marrow which is going in the potato. The leek.
A condiment used for the dish is horseradish cream.
Some fresh horseradish. Just grated.
Whipped cream is in the bowl.
Buy the fresh horseradish. It's much better. As the commercial one, the finished one, what you have. Season, salt, pepper, and some chive. Mix very well together.
The vegetables are cooked in the beef broth, and the beef tenderloin is seasoned.
Salt and pepper. Set aside. And you cook this with your vegetables. Approximately around for 5-6 minutes. It depends what you want, medium, rare, or well done. A good trick, as you know, as everything cooks, I'll give you a little trick. When you take your hand, you're pushing here, this is rare. When you touch your finger here, is medium. When you touch it here, it's well done. Take it out of the skin from your hand. That's the best way to find out. Rare, medium, well done. Use this as a tip. Always works.
The vegetables and beef are arranged on a platter and go back onto the stove.
What you want to do is add a bit stock. Hot tenderloin, a horseradish cream, and also we made a whole selection of condiments. What we have with that, something I always have fun with. I always like to serve some marrow bones, where this is how you eat your marrows. You can go inside. You have a marrow spoons on the side. On here is the potato.
Todd Weiss, executive chef at the plush Turnberry Isle Resort, previously worked at the Pierre Hotel in New York, Aspen, and the famed Ernie's in San Francisco. At Turnberry, he was responsible for 5 restaurants and 6 kitchens. Happily, he found time for a warm chocolate espresso cake.
Okay, this next recipe is chocolate espresso cake. The great thing about this cake, it's low in calories, low in fat, and high in fiber. It has all the ingredients of a regular chocolate cake, but we've sort of taken some of the bad stuff out. We're starting with semi-sweet chocolate, low-fat milk. Over a double boiler, we're just gonna melt the chocolate. It's a very easy recipe. You don't need any mixers or anything. I'm gonna add my butter, sugar, and just get everything nice and smooth. And I'm gonna add my eggs. The good thing about this recipe is you can make up this batter and hold it in the refrigerator for about a week and just bake a little bit every day. Okay? Now I'm going to add some espresso coffee, whole wheat flour, and I'm just going to kind of alternate the dry and the wet ingredients so that it all comes smooth. The rest of the coffee, a little sherry wine, baking soda, and the rest of my flour. Now we're going to make a mango ginger sauce. The other sauces we're not going to cook. The mango sauce we're going to cook because okay, add the mango, add the orange juice, and a little bit of ginger. And we're just going to simmer that slowly for about 10 minutes until the mango starts to break down and basically makes its own sauce. And then we're going to puree it and strain it. You need to strain it in case there's any fibers in the mango. Okay? Okay, to bake the cake, just going to take a little brioche mold, or you can use a muffin tin. Just spray a little ham or olive oil in there. A little bit of the batter inside. Leave about a ½ an inch or ¼ inch to the top, so when it comes up, when it raises, it doesn't go over the top. And then we're going to put that into a 350-degree oven for about 8 minutes. We've got our cake out of the oven. We're going to let it set and cool. I like to keep it a little bit underdone so the middle is still a little undercooked. Okay, we're going to take our pureed mango sauce and just put a little bit in the middle. We're going to go around the outside with some raspberry sauce. And then a little circle with the blackberry sauce. And this is called the Hurricane Tropical Fruits, since we live here in South Florida. Just going to bang the bottom plate. And what's a hurricane do? Turns. And then we're just going to twist that. Take our chocolate cake out. Just going to trim this a little bit. Set that on the plate. Garnish it.
Garnish includes fresh berries and pineapple.
A few pieces of mint.
Welcome to Great Chefs, a culinary tour of the United States featuring some of the country's finest chefs.
The appetizer is offered from Atlanta's Thomas Catherall. It's an unconventional treatment of the classic Caesar salad, only here the focus is lump crab meat. Then it's off to Maryland's Eastern Shore. For his entree, Chef Paul Milne prepares venison medallions presented with shiitakes, apples, and celery root. Finally, the dessert course is offered from Naples, Florida. Pastry chef Norman Love certainly explores the world of almonds with ice cream, cake, and blancmange. Tom Catherall's eclectic Tom Tom is a popular bistro in suburban Atlanta. The owner chef is a native of England and apprenticed in Newcastle. He came to the States, graduated from the CIA, then worked in London, Bermuda, and Barbados before moving to Atlanta. His first course is crab Caesar salad.
We're ready for crab Caesar salad. This is I'd say, a modern presentation of a favorite Caesar with some lamb crab meat. Well done, I've separated a few hearts for garnish from the outer leaves. This is organically grown romaine, but you can use any kind. So for four, you need a whole head. I'm gonna chop some for one, so I don't need the whole head. We'll roll the leaves tight. And I'm gonna shred them, nice and fine. So nice thin shreds. This I'm gonna add to the bowl.
The dressing is fairly standard, containing egg yolks, Dijon mustard, chopped anchovy fillets, and chopped garlic.
I'm gonna add to it a little bit of Caesar dressing, which we have here. Mix that mixture to the crab meat, which has been picked through, no shell. I make like a remoulade. We have some chopped pickle, some capers, some chives, some chopped tomato. This we're going to mix with some dressing just to bind it. Season a little bit of salt and pepper. I use white pepper in here so you don't get black specks. It's nice and brown. Bring our plate. This is a cookie cutter. I have assorted sizes. It's a nice size for the salad. I'll place some of my lettuce in the middle, on the bottom. Spoon the crab mixture on top. And just press down lightly. Should even all the way around. Take a little bit more shredded lettuce to the top. I'll garnish it with a few capers. A little bit of chopped pickle, chives, chopped tomato. Take a heart, which is the small hearts from the center. Place on a dish. Garnish.
A final garnish is basil-infused oil.
Just drizzle a few spots of basil oil. And garnish it with a few croutons. Lift off. Ring. Smattering of Parmesan cheese.
When Paul Milne opened 208 Talbot at St. Michael's, Maryland in 1990, he anchored the operation in what he calls casual gourmet dining. That is, a loose dress code, ample portions, and prices that hover under, not through the roof. In other words, he was ahead of his time. His entree stars venison medallions. An accompanying starch served with the venison is deep-fried sweet potatoes.
Well, the potatoes are still a little bit pliable. We're just going to form them into the shape we want. And as they sit, they'll continue to crisp up a little bit. And we're going to saute our vegetables in a little bit of bacon fat.
The sauté includes julienne apple, celery root, shiitake mushrooms, and Vidalia onions.
Saute them al dente. And then we're going to add some of the currants, which is soaked in Zinfandel. And a little bit of Zinfandel. Season with a little salt and white pepper. Our venison medallions, we'll season with a little bit of salt, and fresh ground black pepper. Then we're going to saute them, medium rare, about 1.5 minutes on each side.
The medallions are sautéed in clarified butter.
I'm going to use a nice even bottom saute pan or Griswold so you get a nice browning of the meat. place their venison around their veg. Top it with the sweet potato mold we made. Nappe the sauce around the edge. Garnish with celery leaf.
Norman Love is the corporate pastry chef for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. He is based in Naples, Florida, but is responsible for 34 pastry operations. Appointed to the World Pastry Cup '99 Team USA, he calls this classy dessert, in a spasm of understatement, almond experience. The only part of the dessert that doesn't contain almond are roasted pears.
This particular dessert is a wonderful winter dessert. So once our pears have been peeled, we're going to cut our pears in half, core them. Okay, cut the pear in half, and using a Parisienne scoop, able to cleanly take out the center of the pear. And using a paring knife, we're able to trim away, clean up the pear so that they're very attractive looking. We're going to lightly saute the pears in the butter, along with some fresh vanilla beans. We split the bean open. This is that hides all the seed and the real true flavor of the vanilla. And by using the back of the knife, we're able to scrape out all those seeds. Vanilla extract is not really recommended as a substitute for this recipe. That vanilla beans are really necessary. We're going to add our pears. And we're going to take a little bit of granulated sugar to start the pears cooking. As the pears begin to cook with mixing with the butter and the sugar will start to caramelize just lightly. We're going to continue then to add just a bit of brown sugar. Very, very slowly adding the sugar. It's a very, very long process, and it should be a very slow process. If we force the pears too quickly, the end result is the pears won't have that beautiful color, and they won't have that caramelization entirely through the pear. It will just be on the exterior of the pear. The flavor of the juices of the pears mixed with the caramelization, caramelized sugar and butter will really bring a beautiful flavor. Once you start to get a very good boil on the bottom and you've started this whole caramelization process, a little bit more brown sugar on the top, and they're really ready for the oven. We're going to splash a little bit of rice vinegar on the top. Give the pears one good turn. And the pears are now ready for the oven. should bake at about a 200-degree oven, anywhere between 4 and 6 hours, depending on the size of the pears and the firmness or ripeness of the pears. It's very, very important that during the process that we're slowly adding more sugar, we're slowly adding a little bit more butter, and we're slowly adding rice vinegar, and continually baste the pears through the cooking process. So periodically in the oven, we're going to take some of the liquid and we're just going to baste the pears, constantly throwing the liquid, constantly turning the pears, really spending a lot of attention to them, and the end result will be well worth it. They're going to get really well glazed. As the liquid starts to absorb a little bit, add more sugar. We add more sugar and more rice vinegar will create more liquid. You're able to continue to baste. Okay, so the pears have just come out of the oven. You can see the beautiful color. It's almost has a red cast to the pears. The sugar, the butter, the rice vinegar, vanilla bean, and the juices, the natural juices from the pear have created all this liquid, which in the end result will become the sauce to the dish. Has a little bit of a hint of vinegar in the sauce, and it really gives a contrast of the sweet and sour to the pear. As we move on now, we're going to now make the almond cake. The almond cake is it's a very fresh, very light, very buttery tasting almond cake. Will provide us with a little bit of cake texture to the dessert.
Using the paddle in an electric mixer, butter and vanilla-infused sugar are creamed together.
The butter can be room temperature, and we just want to incorporate very well the sugar and the butter together and actually put a little bit of air into the mixture, so it's a well-creamed, incorporated mixture. Once your mixture is creamed, we're going to slowly add our eggs one at a time. Once you've placed all your eggs inside the machine, we're going then to add some vanilla extract. You can substitute the vanilla for amaretto if you'd like to help enhance, or even almond extract, but very, very little if you're using the extract. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients. First, starting with the almond flour. If the mixture looks like it's starting to break, it's not a problem. It can continue to add the dry and the mixture will come back together. Once we start to add our dry, a little bit at a time, add my flour. There's baking powder and baking soda and salt. They also can be all sifted together with the flour, or can be added separately.
The dry ingredients are gradually added until fully incorporated.
And the last ingredient is sour cream. This is going to give a little bit of a tangy taste to it, as well as provide moisture to the mix, creaminess. Then you want to just allow the mixer to do its job and to mix all the ingredients well. I always take the spatula, and just to ensure again that the mix has been well incorporated. And then we fill up our 9-inch cake pan. It also could be baked on a half sheet pan if you want a little bit lower cake. The cake will rise, but it won't rise excessively.
Bake at 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. Another element is blancmange, a custard that begins by infusing milk with toasted almonds.
The infusion takes about 30 minutes or so. So we're going to warm our milk slowly to just under a boil. Then we're going to turn it off and allow it to infuse for about 30 minutes. So 30 minutes has passed. The almonds have been infusing in the warm milk. I'm going to add our sugar. Mix well, and the warmth of the liquid will dissolve our sugar. Then we're going to pass the almonds out of the milk, leaving a really wonderful toasted almond flavor in the milk.
Gelatin leaves were softened in water, then squeezed dry.
And then it's placed in our warm liquid of milk and almonds.
Italian meringue, warm simple syrup combined with beaten egg whites, will be folded into the milk mixture.
We pour all our syrup into the bowl, and then we're going to continue to whisk until that mixture is cool.
Soft peaked whipped cream is added to the cooled milk mixture.
And with the whisk, we're just going to lightly fold the cream.
Some of the milk whipped cream mixture is tempered into the finished Italian meringue.
Okay, and we then place the meringue into our almond flavored cream. And we fold
The mixture is dispensed into molds and frozen. Presentation starts with the blancmange and room temperature roasted pear.
and then some of that liquid from the roasting
This is a small cylinder of the almond cake.
little powdered sugar on the top. Some caramel sugar. An oven roasted pear, dried pear. And a nice quenelle of almond ice cream finishes the dessert.
Welcome to Great Chefs, a culinary tour of the United States featuring some of the country's finest chefs.
The starter takes us to Louisville, Kentucky. A new chariot constructs a portobello Napoleon with layers of squash, roasted pepper, and spinach. We visit Dallas for the entree. Richard Chamberlain presents an apparent redundancy: center-cut beef tenderloin stuffed with a meaty portobello. Finally, from New Orleans, Doyle DeForest prepares a diminutive and tastier version of the famed Viennese soccer torte. It's presented with marinated cherries. A new chariot left his native Iran in 1972 and 20 years later, by way of West Germany and Texas, ended up in Kentucky. Fortuitous for Louisville foodies. His namesake restaurant sort of specializes, but is not limited to, vegetarian dishes, like this, a portobello Napoleon. The chef prepares a simple marinade for the portobellos with chopped shallots, olive oil, salt, and pepper.
With the rosemary.
Fresh rosemary leaves are added to the marinade and will go on the bottom or gill side of the mushrooms. Marinate for about 20 minutes. Another element of the Napoleon is roasted pepper.
Pepper, a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic,
Julienned yellow squash is used as another layer. Squash is cooked on top of the stove with olive oil and shallots.
a little bit of cilantro. We want them soft but not mushy.
Another layer includes fresh spinach wilted with some garlic.
We sort of want it braised because I still like the green color when you assemble the dish. We're done.
It will be joined with chopped hydrated dried tomatoes.
Probably want to remove this from a hot pan.
Balsamic vinegar is added to the portobellos, and they, along with the red bell pepper, are grilled.
That should take roughly around 5 to 6 minutes on each side for the portobello. The peppers take a little bit quicker, so.
This simple sauce begins by sweating chopped onion. Chopped fresh thyme is added.
There we go. The onions are getting transparent. We want a little bit of color on the onions and peppers. That's what gives us a little smoky flavor.
Red bell pepper is added.
A little bit of white wine. Cover it. Let it cook for a minute.
The onion and pepper are blended into a puree, then strained.
be stirring the sauce to get all the impurity out.
The sauce is warmed through, then mirrors the plate, leading to presentation.
Kind of give it a cut like so. Try to get both of them same size, so when you're assembling it, you can leave it whole if you like. Okay.
The first layer is the cooked yellow squash.
Sort of peel the skin off the pepper. Keep layering it.
The spinach-tomato mixture starts the second layer.
Okay.
Then more roasted bell pepper. This dish can be served either as a first course or a vegetarian main course. In fact, the chef has, for 30 years, been a vegetarian himself.
The skin tends to, when you want to cut this, removing the skin makes it easier to cut by regular knife. Okay, look. It's a hearty dish. It's gonna be an entree. Garnish it with a little bit of cilantro. In this case, I'm using some fresh tuberous begonias.
Richard Chamberlain can say, "I told you so." During the 80s and early 90s, nutritionists and talk show hosts railed against red meat. Chamberlain's Prime Chop House opened in the early 90s, and now, to employ some modern gibberish, the boomers are retroing to dishes like this entree. A hefty piece of beef tenderloin will be stuffed with half a roasted portobello.
Okay, to prepare the portobello mushroom, we're going to brush it with olive oil and garlic. Season with salt, fresh ground pepper.
Roast at 375 degrees for 10 minutes.
And repeat on the opposite side.
The sauce begins with chopped shallots softened in olive oil.
Then we add Marsala wine. Bay leaf. and roasted garlic. And we'll let this reduce by about 3/4.
After the reduction of the Marsala wine, shallots, and garlic is achieved, heavy cream and a rich veal stock are added.
Next we add the cream and the veal glaze.
This mixture is further reduced for about 13 to 15 minutes. It will eventually be joined with sautéed morel mushroom slices. They are cooked in butter. Midway through the cooking, fresh sage and sun-dried tomatoes are added.
We add the sun-dried tomatoes, fresh sage, and set aside.
The cream sauce will be blended.
Okay, next we remove the bay leaf. Pour this in the blender. Process till smooth. Now we place it back in the pan. Add the morel mushrooms, sun-dried tomatoes, just bring it to a simmer. Then we add balsamic vinegar. Finish.
Now the star of the show, a 12-ounce center-cut piece of beef tenderloin.
Okay, now we take the tenderloin of beef. It's a center cut. Open it up across the middle. Season with a little rosemary, salt, we put our portobello mushroom inside. Close it up. Season the outside. The remaining rosemary. And cracked white pepper. Now we run the skewers through.
The tenderloin is seared on top of the stove quickly, then goes into a 375-degree oven for 12 to 14 minutes, or until the internal temperature registers 110 degrees.
Slice the tenderloin.
Doyle DeForest was born in North Louisiana and began specializing in pastry shortly after he began a culinary career. After working several pastry stations, he returned home and has opened his own pastry operation called Flour Power Confectionery. His dessert is a marinated cherry truffle torte. The torte is started by creaming 8½ ounces of butter, 5 ounces of sugar, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt for 3 to 5 minutes. Scrape down the sides of the bowl frequently, then melted chocolate is added.
And you want to add your chocolate, your melted chocolate. And the key is you want to add it when it's warm, otherwise it will lock up.
Then 6 egg yolks and 5 whole eggs are added very slowly.
After each egg, you want to let it incorporate. Mix it for about 30 seconds after each one.
Again, scrape down the sides occasionally. When all the eggs are incorporated, the bowl is set aside. Meanwhile, the chef beats sweetened egg whites into a meringue and folds an almond meal and flour mixture into the chocolate base.
When your meringue is almost complete, you want to slowly start adding your almond meal and your cake flour mixture. You want to fold it in gently.
In all, 7½ ounces of the almond flour mixture are folded in. Then the beaten egg whites are folded in. The chef cautions not to overmix the whites, or you will lose the body of the cake.
Start off by adding a small amount first.
The batter is spread onto a silicone pad inside a baking sheet and will go into a 375-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. The truffle torte cream includes 12 ounces of melted chocolate, to which 4½ ounces of hot cream are added. After the mixture is incorporated, whipped cream will be slowly added.
Once your cream is whipped, you want to transfer it to another bowl, or you can leave it in this bowl, it doesn't matter. And put it in the cooler. It's usually best to add it in 2 parts. Right before it's totally completely incorporated, you want to add your Grand Marnier and gently fold it into it.
The cake is cooled and the chef is removing the hard crust.
Go back, cut around, drop it into the mold.
The truffle cream is piped in.
Go back with a thin layer.
Then cherries, which were marinated in Grand Marnier.
Spoon in several of the Grand Marnier marinated cherries. And you want to cut another section of the truffle torte. Make sure you press it down. You want to make sure that the sides are flush. The cream is flush against the side.
More truffle cream is piped on and the desserts are frozen.
You want to level it off.
After freezing, a mixture of warm cocoa butter and chocolate is sprayed onto the tarts. For presentation, slits are made in the tart and chocolate garnishes are added. Melted chocolate is piped onto chocolate flowers, which are then glued to the chocolate triangles. Marinated cherries and reduced juice from the cherries garnish the plate.
Welcome to Great Chefs, a culinary tour of the United States featuring some of the country's finest chefs.
The appetizer is prepared by Jonathan Eisman in Miami. His deep interest in Oriental cuisine is shown with Pacific Time hot pot with fresh mushrooms. Then Jamie Adams at Veni Vidi Vici in Atlanta resonates the Italian theme of the restaurant with roasted guinea hen with summer squash and porcini mushrooms. Finally, dessert is made by Rebecca Tershin at Oxford, Mississippi. Flavored mascarpone mousse, one chocolate, the other frangelico, are layered in a martini glass. Pacific Time is the brainchild of Jonathan Eisman and was the first South Florida restaurant to receive 4 Mobile stars. A CIA graduate, Chef Eisman cooked in several New York City restaurants before locating in Miami. He describes his cooking as Asian-influenced American, like Pacific Time hot pot.
And we're going to start with three quarts of water. Have 2 teaspoons of salt. We have 3 weighed ounces of dried shaved bonito flakes. It's weighed, 3 ounces.
Bonita is a type of tuna. It's the strongest flavored and is used in dried form in Japanese cookery.
The minced garlic. Freshly minced ginger.